We think they're coming in.
Okay.
Good to go?
Yep.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, Mo?
Yep.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Montville Township Board of Ed meeting of Tuesday, February 16th. Mrs. Slunt, roll call, please.
Dr. Cordolino?
Here.
Mr. Daughtry?
Here.
Mrs. Spano?
Here.
Dr. Modrak? He is here.
He's muted.
He's here.
You see him.
You're muted, Dave. He's here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Rappaport?
Here.
Ms. Zuckerman? Mr. Palma?
Here.
Mr. Grau?
Here?
Mr. Joe?
I just
I
invited.
saw Elliot. Yeah, I did see him in there. Ms. Russinow?
Here.
Pledge of allegiance, please, ladies and gentlemen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open public meetings notes.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Montville Township Board of Education provided a public notice of this meeting, which included the time, date, and location that was posted at the Montville Township Municipal Building, all Montville Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville Township Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the district website, and advertised in the Daily Record, the board's official newspaper, on January 9th, 2021.
Thank you, Katine. The next part of our meeting is for the student reps. I saw Natalie there. Natalie, why don't you go first, all right?
Okay, so I'm going to start with some past news at MTHS. So MTHS students and staff helped Key Club celebrate the Super Bowl by donating canned soup to the Montville Kiwanis Food Pantry throughout the last few weeks. MTHS senior Jared Holfelder and juniors Elizabeth Bashenov and Sophia Kuznetsova were invited by Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill to represent MTHS at the 2020 Congressional App Challenge. They submitted original apps to this competition. And the MTHS Podium came out with their January issue. The student newspaper is online and includes student perspectives on snow days, virtual learning, inauguration day, and other MTHS events. Some future things at the high school. Montville FBLA will be hosting its first annual Jeopardy tournament tomorrow, Wednesday, February 17th at 12 o'clock. The National Honor Society's chapter virtual induction ceremony will be released on Monday, February 22nd at 6:30 via YouTube, and this is a pre-recorded video. Tomorrow, February 17th, MTHS will be hosting a virtual parent-teen safe driving course, Share the Keys. The course is designed to educate teen parents about New Jersey driving laws. And lastly, the class of 2021 seniors are encouraged to check on the grade 12 Schoology page and click on the local scholarship classroom to see if there are any scholarships that they qualify and are interested in applying for. Many of these scholarships have fast approaching deadlines within the next month.
Thank you, Natalie. Any questions for Natalie before she disappears?
No, not a question, but I would like to congratulate her on her selection as the NJSIAA Girls and Women in Sports Honoree.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Natalie. Very good. Elliot, is he out there hiding somewhere? There he is.
All right. I'll do athletics. For the boys basketball team, they currently hold a record of 6-1, and they beat Morris Knolls on February 3rd in overtime, 74-73. And the most recent win came against Parsippany Hills on February 13th, and the score was 83-59. For girls basketball, they currently hold a record of 5-4, including the win versus NJAC rival Chatham on February 3rd, which the Mustangs won 72-47. For February 4th was the MTHS girls basketball senior night against Morristown, in which the team won 55-30. And we'd like to thank all the seniors for their hard work and dedication to the program. Lastly, senior captain Bella Vita was announced NJAC Player of the Week on February 8th after averaging 27 points across 2 games, including 31 points and 5-star in the team's win over Chatham. On February 12th, Bella brought home the Week 2 North Jersey game ball for a double-double of 26 points and 11 rebounds in their win over Morristown. This was the second year in a row that Bella won the game ball, so congratulations to her. For bowling, MTHS bowling team earned a number 5 ranking in the week's top 10 on February 9th and are currently undefeated with a record of 8-0. Ice hockey currently hold a record of 1-2-1, and on February 13th, they tied Roxbury 4-4. This Thursday, the boys basketball team will be versing Roxbury High School at 4 p.m., along with the ice hockey team versing Mendham High School at 8:15 p.m. Girls basketball next game is February 20th at 1 versus Chatham. Swimming and winter track and field started their season with their first practices, and swimming's first meet is February 18th versus Randolph. And lastly, on February 12th, Governor Murphy announced that parents can now attend winter sports competitions. MTHS will permit 2 parents or guardians per home athlete to attend all varsity, JV, and freshman basketball games. Additional detailed information was sent to the girls and boys basketball teams. And
Thank you, Elliot.
No problem.
Great job. Any questions for Elliot? Thank you again, Elliot, and we'll hope to see you guys soon. Stay safe. Superintendent's report, I think you said you want to do the ShopRite scholars first, so why don't you go into that?
This is one of the 4 wonderful opportunities that we have during the year to kind of spotlight some of our outstanding students at the high school level with the ShopRite Star Awards. So I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Nadzak. He can introduce our students and sing their praises.
Hi, good evening. I am excited to have the opportunity to present our ShopRite Stars for the second marking period. As always, our stars were nominated by faculty members in one of 5 different categories, and the winners were selected by an administrative committee. In addition to the recognition of these wonderful students, Sunrise ShopRite generously donates $1,000 toward project graduation for the class of 2021. Please join me in congratulating each of our stars this evening. In the field of academics, congratulations to Theo Mohideen. In his nomination, Theo was described as one of the most intelligent and gifted students our staff has ever had the pleasure to teach. Theo proudly maintains a 4.69 GPA and has taken 11 AP courses during his high school career, including 5 this year. In prior school years, Theo has won several underclass subject area awards such as chemistry, biology, and English, as well as a certificate of excellence in Mandarin. In addition, Theo is a National Merit semifinalist, member of the National Honor Society, and treasurer of the Chinese Honor Society. Theo is also on the varsity track and field team, competing in high jump and pole vault. Outside of school, Theo volunteers at the Interfaith Food Pantry and completed a hunger walk for the Morristown Community Soup Kitchen each of the past 3 years. Theo is still applying to several top colleges and plans to major in biomedical engineering before attending medical. Again, congratulations.
Congratulations, Theo.
In the field of athletics, congratulations to Nicholas Amoroso. Nick is a 3-sport athlete and participates on our football, winter track, and spring track teams. The word participates is a bit of an understatement. In fact, Nick is the captain of our football, winter track, and spring track teams. Nick was named to the first team all-conference and all-Morris Sussex sports team in football for the past 2 years, qualified for the New Balance Nationals in track and field, and is the current MTHS record holder in the 55-meter high hurdles. For the first time in his high school career, Nick is taking 2 AP classes this year, and despite the increased course load, he has earned straight A's in each class for the first semester. Nick has also organized and led a virtual 5K this past spring as a fundraiser to feed the hungry. This year, Nick's volunteer work includes providing skills training to middle school football players, and more recently, as a peer mentor to students who are struggling in various aspects of distance learning. We are so proud that Nick will attend the United States Military Academy at West Point in the fall and participate in their track and field program before pursuing a career as an active duty Army officer. Again, congratulations.
Congratulations, Nick.
In the field of the arts, congratulations to Logan Poe. Logan is one of the most talented and accomplished musicians to ever walk the halls at MTHS. Logan has been first chair clarinetist since sophomore year, plays piano in marching band and jazz band, and was inducted into the Tri-M Music Honor Society at the end of his freshman year. I could go on, but want to highlight a few of his accomplishments outside of school. Logan has composed 50 piano works and 3 symphonies, performed original musical work at Carnegie Hall in 2018 and 2019, earned the highest score in New Jersey in the Royal Conservatory of Music exams, and performed 4 original works during personal recitals in 2 Instagram live stream events last year. Despite the time Logan dedicates to his music, he maintains a 4.4 GPA and has volunteered in our community through programs such as Music Heals Montville. Logan has committed to Cooper Union, where he will major in electrical engineering. Again, congratulations.
Congratulations.
In the field of community service, congratulations to Samiha Khan. Samiha finds ways to serve both our local community as well as our global community through her work in various clubs and organizations. For example, in the International Concerns Clubs, Samiha has participated in the March of Dimes and hunger walks and raised awareness for civil rights issues through letter writing campaigns and roundtable discussions. In the Citizens Foundation, Samiha assisted in the organization of a gala event which raised awareness and funds for education in Pakistan. Through her work in the Citizens Foundation, Samiha founded the Room to Read Club, which focuses on fundraising as well as awareness to improve the quality of education in developing countries. Although Samiha dedicates so much of her time to important causes, she still maintains a rigorous course load, taking 4 AP classes this year, and is an active member of History Club, UNICEF, and Forensics. Samiha is still applying to several colleges, but plans to major in business and pursue a career in marketing. Again, congratulations.
Congratulations.
And finally, in the field of leadership, congratulations to Sophia Barragan. Successful leaders create sustained positive change and create change in others around them. Sophia is a born leader and creates change wherever she goes. For example, Sophia is in the process of completing her Girl Scout Gold Award. Sophia chose a project which connected her with hundreds of girls on social media about the inclusion of women in STEM. Her work was featured by the Society of Women Engineers at Penn State and Rutgers, in the newsletter at Penn State, and on Instagram at Rutgers. Sophia is a member of a world-class drum and bugle corps called Fusion Corps. Currently, Fusion Corps is ranked as the best drum corps in New Jersey, and her brass line is the 3rd best in the Drum Corps Association. Sophia is the brass captain and drum major in our marching band, drum major being the highest ranking position of the band. If these accomplishments are not impressive enough, Sophia earned acceptance into the competitive engineering, design, and advanced manufacturing program at CCM. At CCM, Sophia was a contributor to their advisory board, creating a lesson schedule for the current spring semester. EDAM allows students to work with NASA on different engineering projects while also earning college credit. While working with NASA, Sophia and her class manufactured an experimental locker, which is on the International Space Station as I speak to you tonight. Sophia is still applying to several colleges and plans to major in engineering in the fall. Again, congratulations to Sophia and to all of our second marking period ShopRite stars.
Thank you, Ken, and congratulations again. Several years ago, we had a senior also appointed to West Point, and I'd like to congratulate Nick on that. You'll be following the Montville tradition up there, and the best of luck to you throughout your career and the career of all the rest of the ShopRite scholars this evening. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Rotar?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, this is one of the sad parts of, being in a virtual climate that, we typically would have all the board members shake your hand. We do have a certificate for each of you, and we will send that over to the high school so that they can get that to you. But we are very, very proud of your accomplishments. They're quite phenomenal, and congratulations to each of the 5 of you. Wonderful job. I did want to also note that I did send out something through Schoology today that One Montville is having a program on Tuesday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. This is a presentation on the Holocaust, surviving the Holocaust and the COVID pandemic. The speaker is Toby Levy, who was born in 1933 in Poland and actually is a Holocaust survivor. She was actually hidden on a farm in a small room, 4x5 room, with 9 other people for a couple of years. So I would encourage everyone. This program is also being co-sponsored by the Pine Brook Jewish Center and the Shabbat of Montville Township. It promises to be a very excellent presentation, and if you are available to participate on the 23rd, I hope that you will do so. I did want to provide an update on our COVID operations. I did send out a communication to our school community on Thursday, but based on some emails that I've received, I wanted to provide some additional updates. Many of the emails that I received referenced the CDC operational strategy for K-12 schools through phase mitigation report that was released on February 12th. This report is largely targeted to those schools and school districts that have not opened in any form for in-person instruction since March of 2020. The executive summary of the report states it's critical for schools to open as safely as possible and as soon as possible and remain open to achieve the benefits of in-person learning and key support services. The report goes on to provide a number of essential elements and strategies for in-person instruction. The Montville Township Public Schools adopted the majority of these strategies, and they were reflected in our reopening plan, which was adopted by the Board of Education in August and implemented in September. What the CDC does not advocate for, specifically in its report, is a full day, 5-day operational schedule if the local logistics do not support such a configuration. It states schools are encouraged to use cohorting or podding of students, especially in moderate yellow or substantial orange and high red levels, to facilitate testing and contact tracing and to minimize transmission across pods or cohorts. This has been the strategy adopted by the district over the last few months as the Northwest region of New Jersey continues to be in the high risk or orange zone. Some parents have also shared with me some media reports about other schools or districts which are reportedly open for a full day. I caution people to dig a little bit deeper on some of these reports. Many of these districts that are reporting a full day of instruction actually dismiss their students at 11:30 a.m. or noon and allow them to return home to have lunch and then conduct the remainder of their full day of instruction virtually. I have previously indicated that a full day of attending school virtually is not a positive thing for students and that Zoom fatigue is real. We do offer some aspects of our curriculum in the afternoons virtually, but do not have a full schedule of class periods for every student every day. I have also received some feedback from our teachers, particularly at the elementary level, that while they do set up afternoon activities such as guided reading and other small group instruction, students frequently do not attend these sessions. As I indicated in my communication to the school community on Thursday, we are eliminating the virtual Wednesday component of our operating plan effective the week of March 1st. There were follow-up communications from Mr. Sanford and Mr. Pisciuto indicating what the alternating schedule would look like for the remainder of the year for planning purposes. In my letter, I also indicated that the middle and high school administrators were reviewing class schedules to determine if it might be possible to combine the cohorts and still maintain safe social distancing in the classroom. I hope to report on the outcome of that analysis within the next 7 to 10 days. One of the concerns in combining the cohorts moving forward is that while the in-person enrollment at the middle and high school levels has diminished, it is possible that a shift to 5 days a week of in-person instruction without cohorts might create a surge in students selecting in-person instruction in the fourth marking period, and therefore create a situation where social distancing is not possible. That is why the cohorts were created in the first place. With regard to the cohorts, the district is concerned about making a change to the plan that cannot be sustained. As has been stated many times before, there are many variables to be factored into these decisions. They are not easy, clear-cut determinations. Many parents continue to advocate for a full day of instruction. As I have said from the time the reopening plan was introduced, our stumbling block here is the supervision of the lunch period for all grade levels. We are contractually required to provide a duty-free lunch period for our teachers, and quite frankly, they are working very hard to manage an environment where they are instructing students who are in person and those who are attending virtually at the same time. This is not an easy task, and they deserve a 30-minute lunch period. In our current pandemic circumstances, even the CDC does not advocate having students eat in large groups. Our alternative to the normal lunch arrangements of having students eat together in the all-purpose room or the cafeteria would require students to eat in their classrooms. At the present time, we do not have enough staff to supervise all of the classrooms to provide a duty-free lunch period for our staff members. Parents have asked why the district cannot simply hire additional staff members and use funding from the CARES Act. As I explained in my communication last week, the funds we received from the CARES Act were used for multiple purposes: acquiring technology to support virtual instruction, the cleaning of our HVAC system, purchasing PPE, disinfecting supplies, hand sanitizer, and other materials to address all of the protocols necessary to safely be open for in-person instruction. We exhausted the CARES funds and do not have additional funds available to hire the paraprofessionals we would need to fully staff the lunch period in all of our schools. While I appreciate the offer of parent volunteers to staff the lunch period, we do not want to have a revolving group of parents coming into the schools. I think our careful management of access to the schools is one of the reasons we have been able to successfully manage the number of COVID cases, particularly at the elementary level. We also need to note that if we expanded the school day and included lunch, in addition to the lunch period, we would also need to schedule the statutorily required minimum 30-minute recess period. Currently, recess is taking place on your own in the afternoon. Some parents have commented in their emails that I should not be acquiescing to pressure from the teachers union. I must tell you honestly, and I know a number of our faculty members who are probably on this Zoom call could attest, that is not my style, to make decisions based on the wishes of the Teachers Association. I make decisions based on what is safe for the thousands of people, both students and teachers, that I am responsible for. Their health and safety has always been one of my most important responsibilities. The circumstances and conditions that we've experienced since the onset of the pandemic have changed over time, and to the extent possible, our response and our plans have evolved with those changes. Both the board and the entire administrative team are very concerned about the mental health of our students. This has most certainly been a focus of mine since joining the district. We continue to be in a situation where we must try to balance the physical health of our students and staff with their mental health, all while trying to abide by the guidelines that have been provided by the CDC and the State Department of Health on how to safely and successfully operate our schools. The administrative team has begun to plan for the 21-22 school year. Unfortunately, we are waiting some critical determinations from the governor or the New Jersey Department of Education. Foremost is whether schools will be required once again to provide a fully remote option for students. This is a factor that has tremendous implications for our staffing and other logistical aspects of our operations. We're formulating scenarios, but at this time we are unable to provide any specific determinations. I continue to provide updates to parents as our circumstances change or we receive updates from whether it's the governor's office or the New Jersey Department of Education, and we'll continue to do so. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Rotar. Next thing on the agenda is we have some good news items there. And we saw the great ShopRite call us this evening. Continue the business administrator's report this time.
I do not have a report at this time.
Thank you. We have some committee reports, facilities, Karen, finance.
Yes, thank you, Charlie. Over the past several meetings, the Finance and Facilities Committee has been reviewing both the expense side and the revenue side of our budget in preparation for development of the 21-22 school budget. That review is complete. Mrs. Slunt will be putting some finishing touches as she acquires more information. Of note is closing out of the referendum as well as the ESIP projects. We will be approving a tentative budget on March 2nd, and the board will be receiving paperwork and documentation to that regard as in the past. That completes my report.
Thank you, Karen. And I think the committee is meeting again on the 2nd, are they not?
The committee is indeed meeting on March 2nd prior to the board meeting.
Right. Curriculum and instruction, Dave, I know you have a meeting scheduled soon.
Yep, on the 24th of this month, we're going to be meeting.
Okay. Christine Fano, Policy and Personnel.
Yes, Charlie, we're going to be having a meeting next week, Monday, February 22nd.
Thank you very much. Communications, Michelle is not here this evening. Safety and security, Mike, I think you gave you a report at the last meeting, did you not?
Yes, the last meeting. There's no further updates this week.
Okay. No ad hoc committees, delegates, Karen, school boards?
Thank you, Charlie. I attended the Board of Directors meeting on February 5th. NJSBA has released the fourth in a series of COVID-related white papers called Eye on the Future as Districts Monitor Student Mental Health, which studies the psychological impact that living with the constant threat of the coronavirus has had on school-age children. I would encourage everyone to review, to look at that report, both school board members and the public. It has some interesting findings. New Jersey school boards will conduct a virtual weekend for new school board member orientation training. The weekend new board member orientation is a fantastic event when it's conducted in person, and I'm sure that school boards will do its very best to make it meaningful on a virtual basis. The budget, the governor will deliver his budget address next Tuesday, and of course, shortly thereafter, we will receive our state aid money. Our state aid figures. There is legislation for cooperative purchasing, which would require the state to enter into contracts and coordinate with certain cooperative purchasing systems to assist public schools in the purchase of COVID COVID-19 related goods and services. So that's a potential area where the state could help us save some money. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Morris County School Boards, Mike O'Brien. Mr. O'Brien?
No report at this time.
Okay. Educational Services Commission, Mr. Rappaport?
Yes, we met last week and it was a fairly quiet meeting. The one thing of note was that they are going to replace the Honeywell communication system with something a little bit more modern. One thing that the COVID situation has shown is that being able to distribute different types of priority messages is difficult with the older systems. So they need something that can produce more targeted messaging, so they can just let people who need to know about the COVID more directly versus a general message to the broader audience. So that's something they're investigating, and hopefully they'll get that a new system in place by the start of next school year. Other than that, it was a pretty quiet meeting.
Mr. Rappaport, for those people who don't know, is our representative to the Morris County Educational Services Commission, which runs a school in, is it Mountain Lakes or Parsippany, Mike?
Morris Plains.
Morris Plains. It's for youngsters, special needs youngsters, and he is our representative, and that's the report he's given. They're updating the system, I guess, the school that they own, not any of our schools in Montville. Mr. Palmer, drug awareness?
No report.
Mr. O'Brien, Montville Athletic Boosters?
The Montville Athletic Boosters met on February 10th, last Wednesday. They usually meet on the first Wednesday of the month, but this was an exception. The athletic director, as usual, gave a very comprehensive report, and under the circumstances that schools are under, he gave a report on changes in procedures. Now the seasons are divided into 4 seasons, and there are some A and Bs in seasons. And for the first time, they are going to let what are called strenuous sports overlap because of the circumstances this year. Non-strenuous sports are considered golf and bowling, and people who earn 4 letters in a year usually are participants in 3 strenuous sports and a non-strenuous sport. But it may be an exception this year. It'll be possible to earn in strenuous sports 4 letters. It's something different. Okay, so he gave a report on that and the circumstances regarding the seasons. I'd like to call your attention to the athletic boosters are always looking for new members. If you go on the website of the Mustangs, you can access apparel that is for sale. The brick project for the high school, you may want to get a brick for your family, which periodically they insert the new bricks in the plaza in front of the high school. And the fan in the stands fundraiser can be accessed, and membership also. So if you go on that website, you could find information about all of those things, and they are seeking membership especially. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Before we go into the liaisons, or any board members have any questions on any of the Reports? Okay, let's go into the liaison, Cedar Hill, Karen.
Thank you. Cedar Hill Home and School met on February 3rd. There was some discussion on the school reopening plans, and as that relates to afternoon support. Some questions on the school day, which Dr. Raj answered. The home school is looking to do some beautification projects like tables outside the lunchroom with some covered spaces. They're planning a golf outing for April 24th. And before I conclude my report, since I won't have, I might have one more, but I would like to give a shout out to anatomy and physiology teacher Jacqueline Heinz at the high school. Just what an amazing program she runs there. You know, I mean, for me, anatomy and physiology is a lot of fun. So I would have loved to have taken a course like that in high school, and I'm so glad that you know, we have a teacher who can make that such an interesting course.
Thank you, Karen. Hilldale, no report. Valley View, Joe?
Nothing to report at this time.
Christine Mason?
No report.
Mr. Palmer, Woodmont?
No report.
David or Mike for Lazar?
Well, they had their meeting on February 8th. They had a meeting. They're still getting excited about the 8th grade high school orientation, which is coming up. And they also want to let people know that they're looking for volunteers to help take over the executive committee and, you know, continue with doing the work that they do there. Mike, did you have
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. High school?
Just a couple of other things to add to that.
Sure.
Well, first is they did put a deposit down on the digital sign for out front of Lazar, and they're hoping that that project would be completed before the end of the school year in June. Weather cooperating with that project. And for 8th grade graduation, that was discussed, and the administration is not, again, as Renee alluded to, not sure where we're going to be in June. So they are planning for video and drive-through or clap-out type of graduation for the 8th graders. But that can change if the situation does change. And they've started their next fundraiser by having lawn signs out front of Lazar for all of the 8th grade graduates. And everyone can see everyone's name as they drive past.
Thank you, Mike. High school, O'Brien, Mr. O'Brien?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Mrs. Zuckerman was at the meeting. I don't have a report at this time.
Okay. She can give that at the next meeting then.
Mm-hmm.
Negotiations, Karen?
The association and the board committee met on February 9th. We continue to make incremental progress, and our next meeting is March 1st.
Thank you. The MTAA and the MTSIAA, no formal meeting has been held, but we've exchanged information with the associations, and hopefully we'll be meeting soon. Public participation, this is an opportunity for any member of the public to ask questions or comment on any of the items that are listed on the agenda. I would like to point out item section J, resolution J3. That's the resolution where we're introducing it to make sure that the teachers can become phase 1 and move up for the vaccination protocol. Any board members have questions about anything on the agenda? All right, we can open it up to the public now. Renee, I know you make your speech with this.
Sure. If you are joining us in the YouTube, if you're watching us on YouTube, there are instructions at the bottom. You need to come over and join us in the Zoom webinar if you would like to comment or make a statement as part of one of the 2 public comment periods during the meeting. So please do that if you need to. I will call on Mrs. Iervolino.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Hi, everyone. Dr. Rotar, I just have a question for you, and I know you received my email and responded in regards to
Is this,
combining.
Mrs. Eppolito, excuse me, is this on the agenda item or on the COVID thing?
Oh, Charlie, am I speaking during the wrong time? It's in regards to.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Dr.
I'll get to you right as soon as we do the agenda, okay?
Sure.
All righty, no problem. Anybody else have any questions on the agenda items?
Mr. Becker, I don't know if you had an agenda question or whether it was an operational plan question.
Oh,
Mr.
sorry,
Decker?
it was an operational plan question, yes.
Okay. All right, so it does not appear that there are any agenda-related questions at this time.
All right, I would entertain a motion on the agenda that's listed plus the addendum that we have.
So moved.
Seconded by?
Second.
Okay, as we normally do, we'll go through the agenda. If anyone has any comments. Start with the minutes of the February 2nd meeting. Any section J, I mentioned about J3, which I think is self-explanatory. We want to do everything we can to make sure the teachers have an opportunity to get their vaccinations as soon as possible. Item K, financial reports. Item L, and the addendum for item L, which is the approval of some clubs and activities at Lazar School. M, contract to special services. And we have nothing for policy. Mrs. Slunk, can you take a roll call, please?
Mr. O'Brien,
Aye.
Dr. Modrak,
Yes.
Dr. Cordolino,
Yes.
Mr. Daughtry,
Joe?
Joe's muted. There we go.
Joe? Yes? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Susano,
Yes?
Mr. Rappaport,
Yes.
Mr. Palma,
Yes.
Mr. Grau.
Yes. There is no need to go into a closed session tonight. Section Q is old business for board. Any old business at this point? Section R, general board comments and new business. Any general board comments or new business at this point? All right, now we get to section S, which is the public participation for anyone who would like to speak on any item that is not on the agenda. And I think we had a Mrs. Eppolito. She spoke first, so we'll take her first. Mrs. Eppolito?
Hi. Sorry again. So Dr. Rotar, my question for you is, with the consideration of combining the cohorts, is it possible for you to look at the fact that people that want to return during this marking period is, having that as the option, knowing that we may not be able to stay in the same spot for the 4th marking period? I know it sounds confusing, but since there's well over a month and a half left, if it's possible, could it be considered that you reach out to students who would like to do the, whatever it is, for 5 days? And then the next part of my question is, I mean, I just don't see, if students are staying home now, and we are considering that the reason is because it's only 2-day-a-week school, that they would want to come back in the spring if it's 4-day, 5-day. Aren't most students staying home for COVID concerns? Or are they staying home because they, you know, they'd rather stay home for 2, and now that it's 5, they'd rather come to school. So I just, not that we have a psychological understanding of it, I just don't think that in the last quarter, we are going to get as many students as we think we are just because school is open. And I'm only sort of relating that to what I see going on in my son's college, that students just did not return for their own COVID reasons. So I just wondered if you could consider, you know, closing out this, I'm calling it marking period semesters, the 3rd, with students who would like to return. As I told you in my email, my personal experience, my daughter can see the class is empty, and when she's in it, she's the only one there. So I just, you know, thought that was a good consideration, that there may be multiple situations like that. That's just a comment.
Renee?
You don't have to answer.
Yeah, all of that is currently on the table for discussion. So, you know, hopefully I'll be able to report out on that, you know, as I said, within the next week to 10 days.
Okay, thank you. I heard you in the beginning. I thought you covered every single thing I could have possibly asked. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Evelina.
Mr. Becker.
Mr. Becker?
Hello. So thank you very much for your time. And Dr. Rovtar, thank you very much for your responses to our email and then the meeting. So I read the CDC report as well. I probably didn't read it as closely as you did, but with all due respect, I do believe that the interpretation that it applies really only to schools that have remained completely closed, I think focuses a little on a nuance as opposed to the general message of the report, which says it's critical for all schools to open as safely and as soon as possible. And there's other reports out, right? American Academy of Pediatrics has said they continue to strongly advocate that all policy considerations for school COVID-19 plans should start with a goal of having students physically present in school. And finally, the Journal of American Medical Association said school-related cases of COVID-19 have been reported, but there has been little evidence that schools have contributed meaningfully to increase community spread. So I understand there are many variables that need to be considered. We need, of course, to weigh the physical safety of our teachers and students with the mental health of our children. But there are volumes of data, that are showing there's very little evidence of COVID transmissions in schools, and that's prior to any vaccinations. Meanwhile, I would argue that the mental health crisis with our children, from what I've read, is more driven by isolation and fear of contracting COVID, and depression, substance abuse, suicides. They're raising to an alarming level for kids. So I see that you're all wearing masks, right? And why are you wearing masks? Because the data and the science tells us that's how we protect other people. So the data and the science is now telling us that with proper precautions, it's safe to move more quickly toward in-person schooling, and that it's dangerous not to. So we're not suggesting we go full day every day right now or before it's safe to do so. To be honest with you, the plan that you just discussed, that was first. I guess I didn't read your note close enough. I did read Principal Sanford's note, which said that the 3-2 schedule is what's going to be for the remainder of the year. So again, speaks to a communication issue I think is very important to get right at this point in time. A case in point, what the prior caller just pointed out about who would come back to school and who wouldn't. There hasn't been a parent survey in months. I think as you're weighing this decision, a parent survey might be very helpful, so we do know who would or would not return. So listen, I'm sorry, I'm going on a little bit here. I get there are complexities, there are state level issues out of your control. We've seen in other states and other countries that have figured it out. Private schools, with all the differences we know exists, have been in person. And elephant in the room, we know we have issues around our kids lagging behind in terms of getting into colleges versus those kids. With the year they've had versus the year we've had, that only widens that gap. And there are other schools that are, quite frankly, public schools ahead of us. So we're not reinventing the wheel, right? There should be some successful plans out there that we can model ourselves after. And again, I'm not minimizing the complexity of it. I'm just making that point. So to wrap up here, the COVID cases and deaths, I looked on the internet here in New Jersey, as of yesterday, are at the lowest point since October, end of October, early November. They're declining quickly. The holidays are behind us. Vaccines are starting to be given more and more to our most vulnerable, and the warm weather will, God willing, be coming in about a month. Are we going to be ready when the governor comes out and says, when we are able to get back in person more quickly, will we be prepared? If there is a plan, I think it would be very, very helpful to all of us if we could hear it. So I guess that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Becker. Renee, I know you mentioned a week to 10 days with additional information, but
Yeah, I really don't have any other comments to make.
Dr. Rotar has nothing to add at this point, but she did indicate that to the speaker before that there might be additional information coming out in 7 to 10 days.
Thank you.
Mrs. Kozel?
Hello?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are?
This is Debbie Kozel. I have a student who's a junior in the high school, and I appreciate everything that you guys have been working on and all the information that was said tonight. And my biggest concern right now is for my child's mental health, the isolation and the being away from friends and teachers and peers, I think is starting to wear on our kids' emotions. She's a pretty happy child and mostly resilient. And I've noticed not only being a parent, but also being a Girl Scout leader, that our kids are getting a little more disengaged and a little more withdrawn. And it's very concerning for me as a parent. I think this generation right now has they're kind of heavily influenced by people who are like their digital friends, people who are online, people who have never met them and don't know them and don't really care about them. And our children really need to be around real friends and to be surrounded by peers and teachers that know them and that challenge them and who really care about them, real people who take the time to get to know them. And I think the only way they can really do that is in a setting with real people. Kids act differently when they're away from their parents. I've seen this when I was a Sunday school teacher, and I see it all the time in Girl Scouts. And in school, they're free to think differently than they might at home. And they're encouraged to see different points of view, which is so important in learning what kind of person they want to be. Participating in mostly online school robs kids of those kinds of experiences and the ability to be somebody other than who they are at home. Kids need the freedom to leave a classroom and reach out to a counselor if they feel troubled. And I know when they're in school, they have that ability. And I do know the counselors are there and they're always available for the kids, but some children might not have the opportunity to be able to do that while they're home. All I can say is, please, when you're going forward, thinking about the remainder of this year and next year, is to keep the mental health of our children, especially our teenagers, in the forefront of your mind. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carroll.
I just want to add that our counselors are very much available to our virtual students. And even though they can't come and visit them in the office, they are very willing to schedule opportunities for Zoom check-ins. So, if that is a need amongst any of the students, our counselors just reach out to them. They are very, very willing to talk with our students, if they can be helpful in any way. So you certainly don't have to be an in-person student in order to take advantage of the school counselors.
I do understand that, and I think our counselors are one of the best group of people around. They're always there for our students, but please recognize that there are family situations where students may not feel comfortable in a family situation talking about things, even on a Zoom call. They might not be able to have that opportunity, and I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Columba?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Following up on what Mr. Becker said about having a plan.
Let me know if I can help.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
About having a plan going forward. I guess the concern is that if you were to combine the cohorts, that the population might grow too big. And I thought perhaps that the students who are already enrolled in cohort A and cohort B, if they were to be combined for the 5 days and leave it at just the people who are already enrolled in in-person learning, if you combine just those two cohorts for, say, the first month and see how it goes. So this way you wouldn't be getting a huge influx, because the population is, for in-person learning, the population is pretty low right now. So if you combine them, it wouldn't be that you would have huge classes, and we could see how it goes and see, will it work or will it not work? And then, go from there. Would that be a possibility?
Well, right now, one of the things that's happening is that the administrative teams at the middle and high school are actually analyzing what it would look like to combine those cohorts and have all of those students in person, and whether our current classrooms can support that and still provide the 6 feet of social distancing. So that's the work that's going on right now to see if that is even feasible, whether we can actually house all of cohort A and all of cohort B, the kids that are currently in-person students, and still meet those guidelines in terms of social distancing. So that it does take a little time, and for them to work that through, and that's why I will hopefully be able to report out on that in a week or 10 days.
Okay, and one other thing quickly, like Mr. Becker said, the weather should be, getting warmer, hopefully within a month to 6 weeks. Is there any plans to use the huge, beautiful campus that we're so lucky to have at the Montville High School? The community park is right there. Is there any thoughts to, the idea that perhaps there could be some outdoor learning in the amphitheater or on the track or anywhere? It's absolutely gorgeous there. We should we should be able to use it if that would be something that you would be willing to allow.
We just can't create a plan that revolves around the daily use of those spaces, because we all recognize that the weather is not going to permit those spaces to be utilized every day. So whatever plan we have to get students into the building and to expand, what we have going on now, cannot include those spaces on a daily basis to accommodate students, whether it's for classes or lunch, because we know that it's not going to be possible every day.
Right, but perhaps on those days that it's not possible, it could be made a virtual day. Just some thoughts that I just wanted to put out there. Thank you for your time.
Awesome.
Thank you, Ms. Cumberland.
Mrs. Wojcicki?
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, how are you? Thank
Go
you
ahead.
for taking my call. Dr. Rovtart, in the same vein of everything as you're planning for the future, I just would like to ask, are we still looking at, if we combine cohort A and B or whatever the plan it may be, are we still looking at a 6-foot distance for quarantining if the person next to you gets COVID and then 6 feet around them or the teacher, is that still the distance requirement and what you would expect as we plan going forward?
Yeah, close contact is defined as 6 feet for, 15 minutes or more over the course of 24 hours. I don't believe that the CDC or the New Jersey Department of Health has changed that definition.
Okay.
So any kind of exposure like that would require quarantine.
Okay, so that would be in the plan going forward. I was just a little confused because Mr. Esposito sent a letter out to Woodmont parents today, and it says, and I can quote, "Please remember Montville Township Public Schools reopening plan aspires to a minimum of 3 feet apart between student desks. Currently, we are able to exceed this goal and they're 6 feet apart. However, as we move forward, that may change." So I'm just a little confused, and I'd like to know how far apart the desks are going to be as we look to bring the students back.
Well, at the elementary level, from the beginning of September, in fact, if you read our reopening plan, it does say that the distancing may be, between 3 and 6 feet. 3 feet was the amount that had been determined by the Academy of Pediatricians. The difference at the elementary level is that all of the students have desk shields on their desks. We do not have that at either the middle or the high school. So without that mitigating factor, the 6 foot distance becomes more important at the middle and high school levels. But even, and we've seen it, contact tracing is within a 6 foot radius, not a 3 foot radius.
Thank you.
Dr. D'Alessio.
Hello?
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Okay, hi. I'm going to address this to the board in general, not just to Dr. Rotar. So at this point, vaccines are probably not going to be the answer to this pandemic for quite some time. According to Dr. Fauci, it would take at least 75 to 80% of the population to be vaccinated in order for society to return to some sort of normalcy. And being that the children are not even being tested at this point, the vaccine being tested on them, that's unlikely to happen in the near future. So having said that, I'm just wondering how you plan to implement like a full day curriculum for our students, especially, being that we're only half day right now, and my son is not getting science or social studies, which is extremely important. So how do you plan to address that?
I don't know if you joined us right at the beginning of the meeting where I was making some comments, but our stumbling block to a full day of instruction is the lunch period. So, we continue to explore some options with regard to that, but our options are very limited due to staffing concerns and our obligations to provide teachers with a duty-free lunch. Moving forward.
I understand that, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is how do you plan to implement?
Dr. D'Alessio, let Dr. Rotar finish.
I guess she needs to clarify the question because I guess I didn't answer what you're asking.
No, what I'm saying is how do you plan on implementing science and social studies back into the elementary school level if you can't accommodate lunches? Because somehow art and media seem to be more important.
I don't know if Mrs. Woodring wants to address, the curricular aspect.
Andrew?
So at this point, there should be science and social studies occurring in the reopening plan. We did indicate a sample schedule, and in that sample schedule, science and social studies are definitely in there as part of the hours that the children are with us in school. if it's not happening, that's something that parents should reach out to the building level administration for clarification.
Right, so I'm not understanding. Are you telling me that as of now, you happen to be implementing science and social studies on a daily basis? Is that what you're saying in the elementary level?
It should be occurring.
I don't think that's true at all. I've
What
not
school are
seen
we
science
talking?
or social studies once, and
All
I
right,
would
all
I
right,
would
let's-
think that that's incorrect, but okay.
Well, whoever you talk to, whatever school their kids go to, have them follow through with the principal. And if they can't answer it, contact Mrs. Woodring at the board office here, and she'll be able to help them. Because you just heard her say it's being done. Okay? Get that?
I did get that, but okay.
Okay.
I would also
That's the
like
way
to
to-
say that there are other ways to figure out the lunch hour first for teachers. If I did the math correctly, okay, it would take probably approximately $90,000 a year for an elementary school with 3 classes per grade at 5 grades, okay, so at $30 a lunch period. About $90,000 a year to figure out how you can get somebody in each classroom so that they could be there for the full day, an aide or somebody qualified for that amount of money. So how difficult is that to implement? I'm just wondering.
Well, I don't know what your figures are or where you got them from. And if you'd like to, you know.
Yeah, so
That's what-
$30 a day at 5 days.
$30 a day?
At 5 days a week.
I need to do the math. The figures that we have calculated are significantly higher than that. And that's just at the elementary level. You know, there's also an additional significant expense to provide lunch at the middle and high school level. Yeah, it's a significant problem. We do not have those funds necessarily available to us at the present time in the budget to provide that.
So what amount are you coming up with?
We do not have funding available in the budget for that at the present time.
No, you just told me your amount was much more than what my figure was. So I'm wondering how much more?
For the year, it's about $150,000.
Okay, for $150,000 for a year per school. Is that what you're saying?
That's for the elementary level.
Okay, so perhaps we don't need a dance teacher for $92,000 a year. Like maybe we could reallocate our funds. No, what I'm saying is if certain.
Is it Dr. DeLesio, Mrs. DeLesio?
No, I'm Dr.
DeLesio. That's fine. Okay. There's no reason to raise your voice. Okay? Okay, we will understand what you're saying, and Dr. Rovtar is responding. You and her disagree on the implementation of possible aids for lunch periods, and she has indicated there's no money in the budget to do that, and that's what we go by.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay.
I do not see any other questions.
Is there any other questions before we vote to adjourn?
Do not see them. Oh, Dr. Walsh.
Good night. How are you? Just a quick question to kind of follow that up. So,
Who is this?
Dr. Walsh.
Dr. Walsh, thank you. To follow that up, why is there a set amount of money for lunch? I guess my question is, can we open up the hiring application for someone who wants to work for $5 for lunch? Like, why is there a set amount?
No, because unfortunately or fortunately, the employment of those staff members would fall under the purview of the contract that we have, the collective bargaining unit with our Montville Township Education Association that specifies the hourly rate for those paraprofessionals.
So we can't just put it out for $5 an hour.
Pay them $5.
Well, I'm not asking them for it, but like, kind of going back to what the previous doctor asked about, Maybe we've talked about not having volunteer parents, even if they go get CPR certified and fingerprinted and background checked. I don't personally understand still why we can't do that. But I know there's probably a legal reason. I guess my other question is, can we ask non-homeroom school employees to take on a lunch duty, like principals or receptionists or nurses? So we don't have to actually like hire 24 or, whatever number of lunch personnel that's required if we don't use the cafeteria. If everyone stays in their classrooms, we can stagger the lunches. We can hire people to kind of, have the staggered lunches. I mean, I still don't understand the cafeteria thing. I know Kinnelon and West Milford currently use their cafeteria. So I don't know, why they're, which recommendations from the CDC they're looking at compared to what we're looking at. I know they're currently using their cafeteria, spaced out with either individual desks that they're using or spaced out with their own regular lunch tables that they just space everybody out with little, do not sit here kind of stickers on the chairs.
Each school district has a different set of logistics. Currently, using those all-purpose rooms is not something that we can do.
I understand that. Quick question, one last thing, I guess. Do you know what the hourly breakdown is for lunch personnel that we would need on like a weekly basis?
I do have that. I just do not have that information here with me right now.
That's fine. I guess what I'm alluding to is if June comes around and the numbers continue to go well and people continue to get vaccines and everyone still promises to wear their mask properly, is it possible to attempt, if the parents can raise enough money for that weekly lunch personnel cost, can we do a couple of weeks of full day if we can find the money? Considering that they'll be able to eat outside with nicer weather, possibly. It just feels like if we can get a full week for 2 weeks, whatever, to kind of see how it goes and work out the kinks, then we have all summer to figure all these little, quirky things out so that when September comes, we're a full go.
Yeah, under our current circumstances, I would not recommend that we utilize a rotating cadre of parents to supervise lunch, whether that's inside or outside.
Yeah, I'm not even asking even for a big cadre of parents. Maybe like I said, offering it to teachers who are okay with, getting a little extra money if we can raise it as parents, non-homeroom school employees. I mean, it's just an option, just to kind of give it a run to see what we can do. They can be outside, they can eat outside, very spaced out. Again, we can use the cafeteria because quite honestly, I've never seen the CDC recommendation that you guys cite that says we can't use open spaces. I mean, right now any of us can go to a restaurant, and inside restaurants, they're 25, 30% capacity. You walk to the table, obviously you walk down it.
There are clear recommendations that students should not be eating lunch in large groups. That's a clear recommendation.
Right. I guess my question is, what's considered a large group, I guess, is the point, right? Because if we space them out, if it's the same group that's in the classroom, just relocated or, possibly teleported to a cafeteria, they don't have to even walk down the hallway. I'm joking, obviously. But, the idea that we can't just space them out properly, when we have these vast spaces, either a gym or the cafeteria or even outside in June, it just kind of doesn't sit well. I'm just frustrated. That's all, I guess.
Well, as Dr. Rotar said in her opening comments, they're evaluating everything as it comes in. And right. She indicated that, and I'm sure as we approach, we're going to get more direction, hopefully from the governor. He may relax a few things here and there. This is something that, I would hope that they will keep on the burner to look at actually how to fund it and everything. That's the Board of Ed's responsibility. Okay. However, it's something that we don't have an answer for you tonight, Dr. Ross, but it's something that I would hope, excuse me?
Dr. Walsh.
Ross, I'm sorry, I apologize. I would hope that as we move forward, we would look at some of the suggestions that have come up and B, look at them and find out, A, is it palatable, or B, is it not? And by that time, other schools, we get direction from the Department of Ed, I hope. And, you know, we're only in February, all right, middle of February, and we have a long way to go. And I'm
Well, I
sure
get-
that there'll be others coming forward, and I'm hoping to evaluate them at the same time.
Yeah, that's kind of my
So
point.
I-
I appreciate the follow-up. I just, I'm not, feel like I'm not willing to give up, I guess, on this school year yet. Maybe that's just pie in the sky, but there are 4 months left. And there's a lot of work that can be done toward getting us back if we raise money and do, a little outside the box thinking. I guess my last thing, I don't want to take everybody's, time all night, is there any way to guarantee that we prioritize lunch personnel going into next school year? I know we're out of money this year, but is there some way to say we are going to prioritize lunch personnel over other things? I don't want to, I don't want to call out any specific classes that we may or may not need, but like,
At this thing, if we can't guarantee anything, hopefully by the time we get to budget development and what it looks like, we'll be into May, June, and we'll be able to look at what's available and how to go around it, about this problem. That's what I think some of us may be missing the point. We're trying to do this. We've been very successful with our number of students who have been contacted the virus. We have teachers, the elementary schools are doing very well. We're trying to expand it. We just went from 4 to 5 days, okay? We're looking at doing something. If we don't, the superintendent doesn't get a bonus if she keeps school shut for half a day, okay? We're trying to do what's best for the kids, and I think her track record here is pretty darn good in that area. And I think we have to let her with her team come up with ideas. She's listened to what's being said. Some of it may be feasible, some of it may not. And I think that's where we are, Dr. Roth, and that's why we have these meetings, and we're happy to entertain your thoughts and ideas. And I think that that's where we're at.
Yep. No, I
Okay.
greatly appreciate all your work, and Dr. Rovtar has been amazing with communication. I just throw a couple
Yeah,
ideas.
we're very fortunate. Thank you. I'd like to, I appreciate that comment, because sometimes, you don't hear the pluses. All you have is some parents got up that are, not complaining. Some people don't understand the amount of work involved. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't talk, by all means, but we're working on this. They don't just sit back and do nothing. But thank you very much for your comments.
Have a great night.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, we have some more, yes. Mrs. Wachtel?
Mrs. Wachtel?
Wachtel.
Hello.
Yes, Mrs. Wachtel?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my question. I'm just curious, after the winter break, we had a 2 weeks of virtual instruction. Is that something you're considering after spring break again as well? And when will we know about it?
I'm not considering that.
Not being considered at all, Mrs. Wachtel. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
just checking. Thank you.
Lilo?
Mute myself. I just got a really sweet message from one of my preschool parents who had a baby. So it's very nice. I'm coming into you with a smile on my face and thanking you for the time.
Can you tell us who you are?
Lilo, I'm sorry, Lilo Comodin. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello. Okay, thank you. Just want to reiterate a lot of stuff that's being said, first of all, from Mrs. Kozel, Mr. Becker, and just reiterating the fact that we acknowledge the hard work that you're doing here and totally appreciate that. But want to just say for children, for parents who have kids that are in the upper high school age, we really need to start moving forward and understanding the impact of what this COVID shutdown has been on them. And there's a lot of stuff going on with them, and we just really need to get back to school. So whatever you guys are able to do, we are totally supportive. We don't want anyone to get sick. We don't want teachers to get sick, any of these things to happen, but we just really want whatever studies you need to do to get 2 cohorts into school, can we just prioritize that and just make sure that these kids are not going to be, it's hard, they're losing their.
I think you're right, and I think as Dr. Renee said before, Dr. Rotar, that she will have some additional information out 2 weeks, something of that nature, 10 days to 2 weeks. They're looking at everything, not just the high school.
Understood.
Okay,
But
and
my point is, there are kids that are. It's going on a year. They're all going on a year, half days. This is detrimental not only to their learning, to their socialization, to a lot of stuff is going on. They're being detached. They're becoming lazy. They don't want to go to school. Why should I go to school? I don't need to go to school. It's virtual. Like, these are things, I'm not blaming it on you. I'm just saying these are circumstances that are going on that we need to try to curb that for them.
I think all of us hear what you're saying, and we're trying to do what's best for them also.
Understood.
And this is the way we're doing it. Okay?
Thank you.
I think we agree with you. Okay.
Mr. Bain?
Hi, this is Robert Bain, parent of students at Cedar Hill. I've listened to these meetings for several months now, and a lot of the hang-ups seem to be with the wording of the teachers' contracts. Now, I know that you guys are working on negotiating said contracts, and I'm curious to know if you are working on some of those rewordings, things like lunch breaks, things like defining a full day or not a full day, or start time or end times. And if there's going to be any.
Mr. Bain, I would love to tell you what's being handled in negotiations, but we can't from a legal standpoint.
No. Okay? I didn't ask for you to tell me exactly what was happening.
No, I know.
I wanted to make
would
sure
love
that
to
these
tell you.
particular items were being brought up in said negotiation.
There's a lot of things.
Mr. Grau, let me help you out. Mr. Grau, you, with all due respect, you can't answer that question.
I didn't think I did. Okay, Mr. Bain?
Okay, so nothing can be said, nothing can be done until everything is
Not at
signed
this
on the
point.
dotted line and we blame the same issues on a contract next year?
We're looking at areas of the contract to be revised, changed, added, deleted. That's all I can say at this point.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Not holding anything. That's the legal posture we're in.
Ms. Bucci?
Hi, good evening. My name is Caroline Bucci. My son is in kindergarten at Cedar Hill. Thank you for doing this and for taking questions. And I appreciate you, Tate, removing the virtual day. I think that that is such a huge step in the right direction for our children. And it's very appreciated. And I think it's a great first step. Another step, I know other parents have suggested, picking and choosing from different districts. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think that we can take bits and pieces of other plans and make things better, for our kids. And I think we've made so many steps in the right direction, but my focus really has always been the social emotional piece. I think with how things are, it would be a struggle for an elementary student to be full day at school right now with limited time, limited socialization, with plastic partitions around them that are blurry and that are impacting their eyesight. I think that these are all things that we need to consider, and we need to keep moving in the right direction with science backing us. I know that we keep quoting science and quoting CDC regulations, but we've been open for many, many months. I'm in the medical field as well. And we've been able to do things so successfully because things aren't transmitted the way that we thought that they were transmitted back in September, back in the summer. So I think that we can start to even relax some things safely with keeping our kids in mind. Something else that I think would be really helpful is to send out a survey to both the parents and the teachers. What's working? What's not working? How can we make things better and compile the best ideas that are safe, that can just keep growing and making everything better?
Thank you, Mrs. Bucci. Dr. Rovtar has been an officer in the Administrators Association, so I know they meet and they do share ideas. She was on the task force, I believe, for part of this development. So there is a network going on. I know there's a district not too far from here. They were out of school for every reason from last March until after January 15th of this year. They had no in-person at all. There's another school system, I understand, in Morris County that is all virtual. There's no in-person. So I think we're moving in that direction. We extended it, and we will continue to do what's best. And we agree. I have a granddaughter in the 4th grade. And I know when I talk to my son and daughter-in-law, okay, why can't we go longer? And I said, well, I just told them it was my great idea to come up with the 5th grade, which it wasn't. It was the superintendent. But I had to get some play out of it. But we're aware of it, and that's what we're looking at. And I think it's important that we're working with you. Some of you may think we're not moving fast enough, but we're looking at ways of doing this, and I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that we've made so many steps, and believe me, I am grateful that he's in school and that Montville has done the things that they've done. But I also see other things, being done, especially in private schools. We all have our own ramifications. I get that, but we can keep growing and we can keep doing better for our children. Like, I don't think we should say, you know what, they're in school 4 days a week. Let's add the other day. Like, how can we make the school environment better for them? Like, those are things that I think we should start thinking about.
That's why we're here.
Thank you.
If there's none other, are there any other? That's it.
A few more.
2 more, and that'll be it.
A few more.
Huh?
A few more. 5 more.
A few more?
Melissa Conturso?
Yes, hello?
Hello?
You don't sound like Melissa.
No, this is Nick. This is Nick, her husband. I have a question and a comment. First off, I did want to start off just to commend you for moving to 5 full half days. I think that's a great step in the right direction. So I want to thank you for that. I know you're working very hard to keep progressing. My question, and I apologize, I was a little late coming onto the meeting, but I see the CDC relaxed their quarantine to 10 days if you leave the state. Is there any reason why we're still following 14 days?
Because those are the guidelines from the New Jersey Department of Education or Department of Health. So, we are more closely adhering to those guidelines. Until they change them, we believe it's a safer environment for our students and staff.
Okay. And I guess my comment would be along the lines of the last parent who spoke in progressing to a full day of education. I certainly recognize that it's a daunting task for you, month in and month out, to kind of field all these questions. But I think the community looks for more of a leadership role, not necessarily from you, but maybe the community wants to be involved, and understanding that there's 2 sides to this story, very distinct sides of who wants to go back to school and who doesn't. Is there a possibility where maybe you, Ms. Rovtar, as the leader of Dr. Rovtar's district leader, lean on the principals to, form committees within their schools to really get both sides of the equation and come up with a solution so that, we're all trying to get to a full day of school, I think. Maybe understanding that it might not happen this year, but I think a lot of parents strongly want it to happen for September, but don't necessarily want to wait until September. Is there something that we can do to at least keep things progressing so that we can at least start a full day by the end of this year, so things aren't so new and uncertain come September, and we're a little bit better prepared with working out some, quote, kinks, if we're at least in school full day by, let's say, June.
I think that she spoke about this, the superintendent, at the beginning of the meeting. There were a lot of comments. I know you said you came in late, I believe, and a lot of comments on this same item were discussed. And the administration, the principals, assistant superintendents are evaluating everything. They keep the board informed. They do contact other districts for networking to find out. And we rely on them to provide the leadership. And I must say, we've been given some darn good leadership with Dr. Rovtar and her team. And while you are right, not everybody will agree with everything that has been done. But I think we have the kids' concerns at heart. And that's why we're doing this. And that's why we're moving in this direction. I know there are some parents that, let's do it this way, bing, bing, bing. But we have a whole system we have to look at. And that's why they're analyzing and evaluating. And all these meetings have been open. We share with you what we've got. We haven't done anything behind the scenes. And I think we have to let those people they're at the meeting tonight. They hear what's being said. They're going to evaluate things. And I have confidence in them. And I'd like to see, the kids back as soon as you would also. And it's unfortunate, these kids from last March. And I got 3 grandkids in the schools. It's difficult, but we're trying to do the best we can. And I mean, right now, superintendent decides to meet with the principals meet. That's up to her to discuss what's to be done. And that's the way it operates. We're not going to tell her to tell the principal to do thus and so. She's in charge of the district.
Sure, and I certainly appreciate everything you're doing, and I think that to this point, Montville Township has been showing some leadership in at least staying open for the 4 half days, and now moving to.
I don't think we're showing some leadership. I think we're showing outstanding leadership. Okay,
and I agree, and I'm not criticizing by any means, but I'm saying is this is also a moment where. We can keep advancing, right? We can't be comfortable with where we are, and there's no
we
right
are not.
answer.
You're right. We are not comfortable. We are when we're moving ahead.
Right. Okay.
And I'm glad we agree on that.
Well, I just hope that here we are, in mid-February, and by, May and June, we continue to move in that direction. We're not satisfied with just 5.
Move in that direction every month.
Okay.
Thank you, man.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you, Melissa's husband. Okay.
Mrs. Infacino.
Yes, hi, how are you? I have a few budget questions. This year, I'm assuming that when we did the budget last year for 2020, into 2021.
For 21, you mean for 2021?
Correct, for 2021, when we did it in 2020. We did budget for, because we did not know we wouldn't be having lunch in school, did we budget for lunch aides or teachers that get paid during lunch?
I believe we did. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, where is that money being utilized somewhere else? If not, can that be something we can use for consideration to extend the school day? Also, I do know that we are not providing substitutes on virtual days for the children. And that obviously seems to be money that is being saved as well. So where is that money going? Can we be utilizing that maybe for something else? And then my other question is, when the teacher is out for the day and we do not provide a sub, are we still paying the aides that aren't working that day?
Still paying who?
We're still paying what?
The aides, the class aides that aren't working that day. Are we still paying them?
Yeah, the aides are under contract. With regard to the substitutes, I will tell you quite honestly that the amount that we have budgeted, we have probably exceeded that. And that for a variety of reasons, even when we're not providing a substitute on a virtual day, due to quarantine issues, having to provide, substitutes in the classroom when teachers are out, on the in-person days, our substitute use has been higher this year. So there's not savings there. In terms of the lunch aids, and Mrs. Swan, I don't know if you want to speak to that.
The individuals who were budgeted as lunch aides were moved to become virtual aides. And actually, we incurred substantially more costs in order to make that transfer because the lunch aides only covered lunch, whereas the virtual aides are there for the entire day assisting in the classroom. So those funds have already been reallocated and additional funds needed to be added in order to be able to support that.
Okay, and as for the budget planning for next year, I know we're waiting on whether or not we have to offer a virtual option for next year. Are we coming up with a plan B for our budget as to if we do have to offer that, making some, uncomfortable yet necessary cutbacks that need to happen? And are we considering only offering one virtual class per district next year to cut the costs down instead of doing it as every single class offering virtual?
Yeah, again, those decisions, we're going to try to put as much flexibility into the budget as possible. You must remember that, we don't have an unlimited capacity to increase the budget. There is a cap on the budget. So the budget needs to come in at cap. But that's why we're so desperate for information from Trenton with regard to the virtual option, because that definitely has some significant implications for the budget. We just can't answer those questions right now.
Okay, so we can't answer whether or not we're considering just doing one class per district instead of trying to do it in each class, because I do anticipate obviously next year that there'll be a lot less virtual students than there are this year.
I hope there's none next year. I hope we go back to the normal.
We do.
And that's why
I agree, but
that's what we're all hoping for.
I have a feeling that they're not going to do away with that completely in the state of New Jersey based on the fact that a lot of
This is why everybody, is waiting, and we're putting together the budget with the administration is putting together a budget that hopefully covers these things.
Yeah, I will tell you depending upon what the guidance is from the governor and the Department of Education, would we look at some additional other models for virtual instruction? Absolutely. But we spent a lot of time last summer spinning our wheels because the guidance continued to change for the governor. So yeah, we can pivot and we can move in other directions. We just need to know what the direction is.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Prince?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. First of all, I just want to thank you for everything you guys have done. I'm new to the district and very happy so far, albeit my emails sometimes frustrated with snow days, etc. I, as a lot of parents, work, have my own business, and I have my kids, just myself, my two kids during the week. So it's a lot and it's really been a struggle. That being said, trying to focus on solutions and getting us progressing towards a full day. Just thinking about this year, not even to next year, is there any way that we could extend the day, even if it was by an hour or half hour, that still is working towards, a full day? I spoke to the principal over at Grandview Elementary in North Caldwell, and my understanding there is that they have a longer day. I believe the students get out at 1:30, the elementary school. And the kids also, he said, have 2 walks they get around the school every day. So I know my son never goes outside at all. And I think that would help, as some other parents mentioned, just regarding their mental health and just their learning. To expect them to sit with their masks on, for that long, even if we're keeping the day as is, for them to go outside, even in the, as long as it's not snowing or freezing, to get some fresh air. I don't see why we're not doing that. And so.
What school do your kids go to?
Well, my son is at Hilldale, but we came from North Caldwell, from Grandview, and I'm still friendly with the principal there. So he kind of told me what they're doing, and I know from my friends that they have a longer school day. They've been doing 5 days, their elementary school. And so I was just wondering if it's possible the kids have like an extra snack in school, and the teachers have lunch just a little bit later, like 1 o'clock or 1:30 even. And that just, again, it's pushing us in the right direction. It's pushing us towards a full day. And I know when I worked in the city, I had a job, oftentimes I'd eat lunch at 1:30. So I was wondering if that's a possibility. Yeah.
The difficulty with making any modifications to the schedule is the fact that all 3 levels of the district, elementary, middle school, and high school, are all connected with regard to transportation. It's a very tightly bound schedule. So it doesn't allow us to simply add time on at any one grade level without impacting all the grade levels.
But I mean, I'm curious, I would want to know then what they do in North Caldwell, because I'm sure they're not all on the same schedule. I mean, I'll find out what they do to figure that.
And you had emailed me this before, and I think, I think it's very difficult to ask a staff member to work from 8 o'clock until 1:30 without having any type of, a lunch break. And that's really what you'd be asking the teachers to do. And I just don't think that's fair.
I mean, I'm just asking the same what they're doing in North Caldwell. I'd be happy to talk to teachers there, see how they're doing regarding that, but they're doing it. I mean, as far as I know, the teachers aren't breaking for lunch during that time. So they're making it work.
The circumstances in every district are different. And I think it's very difficult when people try to compare districts because the circumstances are never exactly an apples to apples comparison.
Okay. And then so I still want to look into that, because I feel like, again, moving towards a solution, we have to look at other examples in order. Obviously what we're doing is not complete. So I think
we can explore that.
Yeah. So I think it is a good idea, as another parent mentioned, to look at what private schools are doing. Is it Ridgewood? They're in a full day. The elementary, I think it's Ridgewood. They're a public school and they're operating a full day. So we should talk to them, talk to their principal, talk to the teachers, see how happy they are, see how unhappy they are, see what they're doing, and let's do it. Let's get this done. But the other thing, just another idea, which is kind of touching on what another parent mentioned, but I don't know if it was fully answered, is if we keep the core curriculum this year, right? Reading, math, etc., and incorporate a little bit of that outdoor time and incorporate lunch, can't we? Believe me, I think the extras, art, media, or gym are all really important, but especially gym. But if we can, why can't we put those on hold so that
they're part of the core curriculum? Those subjects are all part of the core curriculum.
You have to teach them. They're part of the core curriculum.
Is there a certain requirement of how much time that they're part of the core curriculum?
No, but the other part of those specials is that they also provide the opportunity for the teachers to have the contractually required prep time that they are entitled to on a daily basis. So again, these things are not simple. There's a certain interconnectedness to all of the elements of the schedule. We can't cherry pick.
what if media was incorporated into a lunch period? Like the kids, I don't know, there's a creative way that they could be doing media while eating lunch, and the teacher could be, I mean, oftentimes they're showing them a video on Zoom about, you know, how to use Google Docs or something, and the kids, I don't know, I just feel like we could maybe combine the two, combine lunch and one of those extracurriculars. Or I mean, one of those core curriculars, but the extras.
I appreciate your suggestions.
I think if we get
I
creative.
think at Hilldale, I've been by there, and I see the kids outside. Okay.
They're outside.
Yeah, I see them outside.
Okay, well,
Okay,
maybe
so-
my son said he's never been outside. He doesn't go outside at all, so I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I've seen kids outside with the phys ed teacher. Okay.
Yeah, but they don't have phys ed every day. I think it's important that the kids every day get to go
Well,
outside for a walk or something around the school.
Okay.
Just to
I think-
the saddest thing is my son, we moved to this area in the summer, and I said, is there anyone in school, you know, you'd want to play with? And he said, Mommy, I don't know any of the kids in my class. And he really doesn't, because they have no interaction. And I know this is because of COVID, but there must be a better way to.
Have you talked to the principal of the school about the
No.
interaction?
Yeah, I would suggest reaching out to Mrs. Cisneros.
I think that's what you should do, because with the interaction, that's important. Call the principal and make an appointment, go and see her. You just moved into the district, it'd be a great opportunity for you.
But just regarding the lunchtime, would that be possible to incorporate, let's say, media or art into their lunch period?
I don't believe so, but I'm sure everything is being looked at, but
No.
I don't think it would be feasible at this point. All right, I'm gonna have to move on because we had a 5-minute limit and you've gone over that, and we welcome you to the district and your North Cornwall's loss and Montville's gain, and we wish you the best in Montville. Do we have any other?
Yes, we do. Terry B.
Good evening, everybody. Terry Becker. I just wanted to follow up on what the very thoughtful parents ahead of me have said. Someone mentioned surveying the parents, and as a follow-up to the prior speaker, West Essex High School surveyed their parents as to what parents would be sending their children, how many would be attending. So there was a survey which was asked of our district earlier tonight to see whether students would come back. I'm confused as to how we're considering combining cohorts when there's no information from the parent population as to who would be willing to send their child to school. Also, just as a point of clarification, so many wonderful parents with younger students. Our high school kids were out December and January, returned February 1st, were hit with snow days. We currently have a 2-day, 3-day schedule. We have never been in 4 days. Our students log on at 7:25 and they log off at 11:55. Most of them are not receiving instruction, labs, extra help after that time. And I would ask in the survey that the district candidly ask parents what they are observing at home, because I do believe that there is a bit of a disconnect between what our administrators think is happening and what's actually happening. I would also ask when the budget will be available for the public to review. A parent asked a great question about where the money that was included last year for the lunch aids and if that can be doubled for next year. But again, it's not apples to apples, but really, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel when other districts are doing more than we are doing? And as a listener tonight, I've heard a lot of really smart people make a lot of suggestions, and every one of them was met with, we can't do that. And that's really disheartening. And to expect that parents know the intricacies of the school district, I think that's over and beyond expecting a parent to know. So I would just ask that we be more receptive to how we can do it and not so focused on how we can't do it. Thank you.
Alexis Taduni?
We're taking two more, and we're gonna cut it off for tonight. How many do we have up there, Renee? Two?
She can't go because.
Looks like you have the old version of Zoom, so we cannot bring you in. Mrs. Bucci, I know you already spoke previously.
Is there anyone here who hasn't spoken yet?
No, it's just Mrs. Bucci and Mrs. Taduni, but we can't get Mrs. Taduni in. Mrs. Bucci, what?
She spoke before?
Right.
Well, we can hear her again.
What comment did you have? You're muted.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate it. I think I really want to press on sending out a parent survey, parents and teachers. I think that we need to be able to give feedback. I also do believe very strongly in my organization, so many other companies, leadership needs to come from the top down. So just because, like, yes, I could reach out to my principal at Cedar Hill, I could reach out to Dr. Raj, but it needs to come from the top down. And we need to put an emphasis on the social emotional piece that these children need with going outside, going for walks. We need to be putting that into focus, and it needs to come from the top. I don't think that there should be so much discretion between schools. We all have social media. We see what other schools, even within the district, are doing, and it's not okay. Like just the pieces about going outside. I know a lot of the Cedar Hill kids, they do not go outside on a daily basis. And kids need that. My son comes home and he goes, I don't know anybody in my class. I haven't met anybody. They don't get that opportunity to engage and to talk. And we need to be talking about these things. These are really important. I want him to love school. I want him to love to learn. And I feel like that fun and that piece is getting sucked out of them. Even things just as simple as going to the gym. Like that's a huge thing for a 6-year-old boy. It's a huge thing for all our kids. Like we need to be moving in that direction and doing better. And I think a lot of things can start with a survey.
All right, thank you, Ms. In the meantime, if you have problems, you're from Cedar Hill?
Yes, I am. And
I would definitely suggest
necessarily
you
have problems. However,
well, if you have a problem with your kid, with your youngster, who doesn't know anybody or having a problem, go in and talk to the principal. That's why he's there.
No, and I have raised my concerns and I have mentioned things. However, that shouldn't be the way that it is. And it's a problem universally with all the kids. They are not engaging with each other, and that's a problem. And I do think leadership needs to come from the top down.
Thank you for your comments, Mrs. Fucci.
Thank you.
Mr. Dooney,
This is the last one.
last one.
This will be the last speaker. This will be our 20th speaker. 18th. Hello?
Hi, my name is Alexis.
Hello?
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 Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, my name is Alexis Taduni. I have a second grader at Cedar Hill, and I have incoming twin kindergartners next year. And not to overshadow anything that's been said, because I fully agree with everybody and feel the need for our kids to be in full day this year. But I'm really concerned about September for my kindergartners, because I can see how long, and I understand why things take so long, but I can see how long the process takes to make plans. And I worry that if we aren't planning for the possibility of a full day in September, August will come quickly and we will be told there is no full day. And specifically with my twins, they were in the preschool program. And I have an abundance of correspondence throughout the summer. And I was told, along with everybody else, about less than a week before the start of school that they would no longer be at Cedar Hill unless they wanted to be fully virtual. It left me no time to put them anywhere else. And I just want to make sure that we're planning for these children, because kindergarten is a fundamental time in a child's life. And as a former teacher, I worry and struggle with the idea of sending them to school if it's going to be in the same capacity next year. I'd like to know if we're planning basically, or do I need to look elsewhere for a full day option if it's not even on the board to think about for Montville elementary schools in September?
Mrs. Tuduni, I'm sorry if we left you with the impression that we are not working very hard to plan a full day program at all grade levels for September, because we are. We're working very hard at that. With regard to this past September, unfortunately, we're not alone in the fact that the landscape kept changing in terms of the requirements and the guidelines that districts were given in formulating their plans. In fact, it wasn't until August that the governor compelled districts to provide a fully remote option for students. So, your perception that we gave such late notice was purely dependent on the fact that, the rules kept changing for school districts. We had to continue to revise and adapt. So that's why we're pressing both the department and the governor to give us direction for September. We're asking for that now. But believe me, we are planning, we're making plans, we're discussing, what we need to do in order to provide a full day of instruction.
I fully appreciate that, and I'm thankful, and maybe it is just a personal situation that my kids got dealt a bad hand this summer, but based on everything that was said to all of the previous parents, it's very hard to sit in our shoes and believe that a plan is being put forth, because the lunch issue isn't going to change. And it seems to be clear from the board and your perspective that that's not a fixable thing. So if we aren't planning and we don't think lunch can ever be fixed, then how can we be planning for September?
All I can tell you is that, it's very difficult to make major changes to a schedule mid-year. But when you're looking at configuring a schedule for an entire school year, that we are looking at some other options that would allow us to factor in a lunch period. So yes, it is definitely under consideration.
So for September, there is a plan being discussed by whoever is on that committee to include a lunch period in at least the elementary schools. That is a scenario being discussed currently.
I don't know how many more times I have to say it. Yes.
Well, what does that look like then? Is it look like parents coming in?
I can't tell you the details because we haven't worked them out yet, but it is under consideration and we are working on it. Yes.
But if there's it was said before, there isn't money and we haven't put money in for next year because we don't have the lunch aids. It makes it very hard to see if you don't tell us what the plan could be.
All those questions were relative to the current year budget. We are working on a budget and we're working on plans for September. That's a totally separate set of circumstances.
My last question on this.
That was said a few times.
Okay.
And we're looking on this. We're not going to.
I understand, but my last question on this is, when do you think we will have any clue as parents what that plan is? Because I cannot be told the week before school that my kindergartners, after not having a preschool because I was locked out of all the local preschools because I had no time, that they're not going to be able to go to a full day kindergarten because I don't have time to enroll them. So when will we maybe have an idea if this is possible in Montville? Will it be August or will it be after the budget is finalized in May or June?
I'm hoping that it will be by the end of the year. But again, as I said, we need the direction from Trenton in order to finalize those plans. Without that, we can't finalize plans.
That's fine. But in the summer, you gave us you gave us two plans or multiple plans, right? When this first started in the beginning of August, we were given multiple options. This was scenario A, scenario B. So can't we be told this is scenario A, this is scenario B? Because these are our kids' futures, and we need to have all of the data in order to make the right decisions for them. So if you have a scenario A where they're going to be able to go full time and a scenario B where Murphy says we can't, then it would be nice for us to know that there are two options and we're waiting on Governor Murphy and not on Dr. Robitaille and the board.
That's exactly what we have. We have a scenario where the kids are all in full day, and we have a scenario when they're not.
Can you let us in on that at some point?
It's still in a development stage.
Still in development.
Yes, Renee gives updates at almost every meeting when she comes in. She gave it. Let me finish. You're talking over. Let me finish. She indicated when she started her speech or comments this evening that she's going to try and get back to everybody within 10 to 14 days or 7 to 10 days.
That's not for September.
No, that's not for September. But she's keeping us updated, keeping the parents updated.
But Governor Murphy allowed Rutherford to be in full day, allowed West Caldwell to be in full day. So he's not denying that you can be in full day. We don't need guidance to tell us that. We know we're allowed to be in full day.
What the guidance that we need from Trenton is whether we are required to provide virtual instruction. That is a critical component that we need an answer to.
That's a very expensive.
As an elementary parent and of young children, I know last week, Dr. Robitaille, with all due respect, you said that our instruction is solid. It isn't for the elementary school. And I have my son has the best teacher, but it is not a regular instruction for the kindergartners. And I'm worried for that. My son has the best teacher, and I love her. She is amazing. She is doing more than anyone could ever possibly do. But that's an older kid. Kindergarten can't run like this. And it's not, with all due respect, it's not okay. Okay.
Well,
that's it. Please think about it because
we have tried to give you some direction. We have tried to give you some direction, and I'm sure we'll see you at future board meetings or hear from you.
I don't think you did, though. But thank you.
Excuse me?
I don't think you did give me direction. I think my kindergartner's future is still up for grabs.
I said, we've heard what you have said.
Oh,
okay, and Dr. Robitaille indicated that they're working on it for September. I don't know what else we can tell you at this.
August 25th. Thank you. Enjoy. I thank you for all you do.
She said she'd like to get it to you before the end of school.
I appreciate
it. In June. Okay.
Great.
That's it.
Yeah, Charlie, if I could just say one thing.
Wait a minute,
my own
Mike. We
thought.
got another speaker, Mike.
I'm sorry.
That's it.
This is Becker again. You're muted.
Hello?
Oh, gone.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We have no more speakers. I'd like to wind it down, Mike, before we have any other speakers that would like to talk. But do you have something you want to say briefly?
Yeah, just very briefly. That's, I think one thing we have to remember, though, is that the variable which we can't predict is where we're going to be with the virus in September. We might be at the end of it. We might be in the third wave. So it's very hard to prepare for contingency. We just don't know what this medical situation is going to be in September.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. If there are no other, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll see you on March 2nd. Thank you, everyone.